Thank you, Ashley Tiffany. And welcome back to the studio. I'm Rhina Valentin, of course, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. And our first guest is a painter, sculptor, illustrator, and mosaic muralist whose work has been featured throughout New York City. And his work, it generally displays the history and traditions of the African diaspora in the United States, the Caribbean, and Latin America. He takes great pleasure in holding workshops and even has award-winning apprentices. And he's here with us in studio, and I'm so excited to share his story and to hear his story. And of course, because his work is exquisite and one of a kind. Please welcome Bronx-born artist Manny Vega. Yes.
Gracias. Good morning. Querido Bronx, good morning.
Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you. Feel great.
Thank you. Thank you for making the time to come and allowing us to share with our viewers your story, senor, because the truth is that you are primarily known as the artist of El Barrio. But what people don't really know is the background and your origins of where you originate from and what inspired you to do the style of work that you do.
Okay, that's going to be a long-winded answer. I was born in the Bronx. My family.
We don't have that much time, though.
Yes,
Okay.
my family is from Puerto Rico. They arrived in 1956, the year I was born, from Puerto Rico. And I grew up in the Bronx and in East Harlem. And I want to share with folks that I'm one of those artists that actually I'm self-taught. I learned by just having the desire to be creative and expressive, and I had a mother who was very creative at home and productive.
When did you know that you were going to be an artist?
When I did a painting, and I was about 17 years old, and I got an angry response for doing it from my father. I did an image of Che Guevara. But that it angered him, it excited me. Does that make sense?
Because, whatever floats your boat,
Well,
because sometimes that drives passion, right?
yes, that's the key word, drive, passion. I got a passionate response from my father, and that's got me interested in just being a passionate storyteller. And I was experimenting with all types of mediums. At the time, which I'm referring to the 70s, the East Harlem had a couple of arts organizations like El Museo del Barrio that had storefront workshops. And that's where I developed my chops, actually, learning printmaking and ceramics and being surrounded by a circle of other artists as well.
Right, an artist community, and so, but your particular style of artistry, right, and the fact that it's displayed primarily throughout the street, and while we love graffiti arts, it's yours. Your style really stands out, and I just wonder what led you in that direction.
As a child in the Bronx, there were a couple of murals here in the Bronx by artists like John Ahern, way back in the 60s, early 70s, and I was moved by that work, and it just percolated in my mind the option of not only creating work on paper and canvas, but also out in the streets. And now it's one of my, one of my facets of being an artist is bringing the gallery, the museum, out in the street in the day-to-day with folks.
And the other thing is that we're looking at some of your images now, and the mosaic, and it kind of, it's, I guess, important for us to document our own history. So it serves as history lessons as well.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you pick your subjects?
The key word was what we began the conversation with, passion. I'm passionate about music, I'm passionate about dance, but I'm also passionate about our diversity. That we live in a building where there's all types of cultures and nations represented in the same building. And that creates, I wouldn't say a subculture, it creates what America is.
Well, yeah, especially here in New York, right? Because we're kind of like, we are the melting pot of the world. And so we have...
And the Bronx as well, even more so now.
Yeah, and we're looking at a picture of Tito Puente. Image of Tito Puente. I know you had a commission, and we don't really have to talk about that too much, but just how long does it take you to make something like that?
It's hard work, but when you're in love with what you're doing, It takes minutes for me, to be honest with you. When I say minutes, I literally mean weeks. But
So weeks, minutes are calculated in weeks for you.
it's like a prolonged dance, you know. You just want it to continue. And when it ends, when the project is finished, I fall into depression sometimes because, I'm just so passionate about not only the image, but the act of creating it. And creating it in front of folks, especially young folks, because it demonstrates a work ethic, which is important,
And of course, to be able to be in the space and have access to a master such as yourself, the fact that you even give your time in that realm, right? And it's almost like paying it forward, right? Well, actually, it is paying it forward because that's generally what in what you were saying earlier is that's kind of like what inspired you is having access to these community or artistic groups
Yes.
that are there to kind of mentor you on a personal basis versus a scholastic basis, right?
Well, yes. Well, it's about perpetuating that invitation that I received when I was young. And in these times, in 2018, there's a huge lack of resources for folks in communities like the Bronx and East Harlem to explore their creativity. So it's important to actually conjure it up, because this is a generation that needs to express themselves, needs to define themselves.
Well, we had the pleasure of experiencing your pop-up workshop, and I understand that you have prodigies, and I'm blessed to have been able to bring my daughter, who is an artist herself, to you. And while she didn't do mosaics, but she was able to gain some knowledge from you, and that's really the idea at the end of the day, is to have access to someone like yourself who has the formula. For lack of a better word, because you have your own style, you're unique, you're one of a kind, and we're
Thank you.
so fortunate to have you here with us.
Gracias, Rhina. I appreciate it. Well, it's important, again, to perpetuate that invitation for people to discover that they can also be expressive and creative and be responsible for their voice. That's important, to learn that as young as possible.
So before we go, let's talk a little bit about your prodigies. I understand one of them is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yes. My
Amazing.
My apprentice, Elisa, she's about 14 now. And she's been under my wing for about 3 years, learning mosaics. And she won a Scholastic Magazine award. For the second year, she's presenting at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Presented at the Manhattan Borough President's Office. I think that's important.
Absolutely. It's so young and already being recognized on that scale.
Yes.
We have to preserve our artists.
Yes. Well, again, it's about creating the invitation and just trusting it.
And then you have another one, right?
I have a few.
You have a few? Yeah, I saw there were two listed that I think were acknowledged
Gabriella's
with a
another
silver
one.
medal.
Yes.
She's the one that got the silver medal.
Yes. For mosaics as well.
That's wonderful. And then I believe you have something from
Yes. I have your daughter's artwork.
My daughter's artwork. Oh my gosh.
Who I invited to come to my pop-up, and she created this beautiful Cleopatra.
Okay, so my daughter's 8 years old, and I just want to show everybody that, this was created under his design, and under his guidance, excuse me. It's her design, and it's just amazing to see the impact and the relation you have to the next generation, because it takes something to really sit there patiently and make sure that you start it and you finish it, and that's one of his rules, is that once you start it, you got to finish it.
And now she knows that she can create this on her own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where can we look forward to future pop-up shops?
Well, I can talk about for a minute the Tito Puente Commission. I was awarded a project through a competition with the City of New York, and I'm going to be partnering with a sculptor by the name of Ogundepe Fayome. We're going to create a life-size or over life-size statue of Tito Puente to go on Fifth Avenue. But it's a long process because we need a lot of money.
Right.
And we're just patiently going through the fundraising process, as well as just formulating the logistics and the approval process with commissions, the City of New York, the DOT. It's just procedures that we have to go through. But it's something that not only the Latino community, but the entire country has to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Is that we're going to be creating a beautiful portrayal of our Mambo King, Tito Puente.
So how can people help you out and contribute to this? Is there a GoFundMe account, or is it on
Well,
Facebook? Like, what do you suggest?
Well, for now, we just want people to be informed and to be patient, just the same way that the artists have to be patient, because the process of creating public sculptures in New York, for the streets of New York, it's a long, drawn-out process.
Yeah.
And it requires that patience
A
and
lot of red
and-
tape.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
So I was asked that, and for me personally, it's more important because of the situation in Puerto Rico, that we Puerto Ricans focus on helping Puerto Rico still,
Thank you.
more so
for
than a
mentioning that.
statue.
Yes.
And the statue will happen, but for now, we really have to, stand up for each other and with each other.
Exactly, and I thank you for even mentioning that, because we have to continue bringing light to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And also, just really quickly before we go, I want to just share with everybody everywhere they can visit your artwork, because it's accessible at Pregones Theater. It's here in the streets of the Bronx. Where here in the Bronx?
Well, I did some projects for the Bronx Council of the Arts up on Tremont Avenue in Mapes. They're not there anymore.
Okay.
But
But we also have Espiritu, which is on 105th and Lexington.
yes.
And
We have the portrait of Dr. Antonia Pantoja on 116th Street.
on 116,
We
and
have
then
the
Julia de
portrait of-
Burgos on 106. And
Yes.
I'm just giving you guys, because it's like the art is available to you. You don't have to go to an art museum. And that is our beloved, legendary Manny Vega
Gracias,
with
gracias,
us here
Rhina.
in the studio. Thank you for making the time. And you guys, once again, for more on Manny Vega's work, please visit his Facebook page at Manny Vega, and or email him at mannyvega.nyc@gmail.com. And well, we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll find out all about Lincoln Center, what Lincoln Center has in store for this year's Borough Link series. Don't go anywhere.